All right, I know a lot of you guys have been asking, and here it is, Loctite.
What's up guys, welcome to Dyna Demos. I'm Rod.
I'm Lego.
And today we're going to be installing the S&S Stealth Air Intake on Lego's 2016 Lowrider S.
So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you think. Thank you. So now I'm going to open up the S&S Stealth Intake. All right, so here it is. This is the intake. It's made by S&S. I bought it off the Speed Kings website. I bought it without a cover just because for a cover it's like an extra $150 and I'm not about that right now. So I bought it without a cover and that's what it looks like. All right guys, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna remove the stock air filter. So this thing is really big and bulky. That's why I wanna take it off my bike. It gets in the way of my leg. So I'm gonna go with the smaller S&S Stealth intake. So first thing I gotta do is just take out these Allen key bolts. And there you go. All right guys, next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna remove these bolts right here. So to take off the assembly off the throttle body. All right guys, so what I'm gonna do now is you gotta take these plugs off. So if you look here, there's two plugs and they have gaskets on the inside of them, so it could be a little bit difficult to take off. So I'm using two flatheads and I'm just gonna pry behind it, even on both sides, and try not to scratch anything. There we go. Like I was saying, it's got two gaskets on there, so a little bit difficult. So the only thing that's holding on this assembly right here is your two breather bolts right there. So we're gonna remove those right now. And now that's removed. So right here, this is your throttle body. So we're gonna wanna make sure that all the gasket is off and this is cleaned up so you have a nice even surface when you're installing the new intake. All right guys, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to remove the filter element off of the actual intake along with the cover. So in order to do that, you take out these three Allen key bolts. I already had them loose. Take that off, take the cover off. You don't need that yet. And then right here, you're gonna remove the filter element, and this is what we need right now. So this gasket is gonna go on the aft side like that. It's gonna go on the back side. So that's gonna get sandwiched in between this bracket and the actual throttle body. So it's gonna end up looking like that, and I'll show you how to do that. So the next step is I'm gonna take these three bolts and these Allen key bolts and I'm gonna thread them through here. All right guys, so now that we got that, you can put the gasket on the back side and it won't fall off. All right guys, so the next step, I got the three bolts through that you just seen. I got the gasket on the back side. So I'm gonna take the breather bolt. Supplied, you have a bunch of these rubber washers. They act like shims. So you put one on the head side put it through the assembly, the bracket, and then do the same thing on the other side. And then on the back side, you're just gonna go with one for now. And then when you tighten down these 3 bolts, if there's a gap that's bigger than one of the width of one of these washers, then you add more in order to take up that space. But we're just gonna go for one for now, and then we're gonna check the shimming and make sure it's correct. So you're just gonna do 1 drop on each bolt, not too much. 1 drop. There we go. There it is, guys. Don't worry, I have Loctite on my bike now. So as you can see, the washer's on the back side, and we got those 3 screws, so you're just gonna fit it up to there. And you're gonna start threading these screws down here. All right, guys, your next step, once you have it fitted up and these have started threading, I had one of the washers fall off on the back side on this left bolt, so I'm just gonna pull it out a little bit and then make sure I get a washer on that back side. All right, otherwise you're gonna end up with air gaps, and that's not good. All right, so our next step is we're gonna tighten up these bolts. And I don't want to wrench on one in particular. I want to make sure I get them all evenly tight before I tighten them all the way down. Now that I got that, I can tighten them up, and then I'm going to check the gap on the back side. If there's no gap, then you're good to tighten down the breather bolts. If there is a gap that's bigger than the width of one of those rubber washers, then you need to add another washer to the backside. So I'm gonna tighten this down and then I'm gonna check it. All right, guys, so what I'm doing now is I'm checking the gap on the backside. So we figured that the rubber washers are about 10/1000ths of an inch, so I'm using 10/1000ths on my feeler gauge, and I'm gonna check the gap on the backside. So if this thing doesn't just insert freely without force, then you're good. So right now I would have to apply force in order to get it behind there. I could force it in, but if you have to force it in, then the gap's smaller than 10/1000ths. All right, guys, so once again, we just checked the gap on the back of the brackets on both sides, and it seems smaller than one of those rubber washers. So now we already ran these down and we're good to tighten them down. So I'm not using a torque wrench, but if you want to, go for it. I think the torque's pretty small. I'll check it after this, but I'm confident in my abilities, so I'm not using one.
Calibrated elbow.
And I'm good with that. So if you look right here, your breather bolts, they're hollowed out in the middle and they vent to right here. So if you see that, those are the 2 holes that they lead to. All right, guys, so just again, talking about the hardware. So these bolts right here that secure your bracket onto the throttle body, these are only 6 foot-pounds. So it's not a lot of force, and I'm pretty sure they're made out of aluminum. So even at 72 inch-pounds, if you put that much pressure on them, they might actually strip out. So be really careful with these bolts. And then over here, your breather bolts, I think they're 12 foot-pounds. That's not a lot of force either, so you want to make sure you don't damage this hardware. All right. The final step is adding the filter element to the intake. So just fit it up there, and right here we got the cover. I guess if you consider that a cover. You want to make sure you line up the threads on the inside before you start tightening them down. Take these bolts. Actually, you know what? All right, guys, so I almost forgot. I need more thread lock. So Loctite right here. I'm gonna add it to the hardware. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the filter element onto the intake. I'm gonna grab the cover. All right, right here, this side has to go into the actual housing. It won't fit the other way, so this has got to go up. So up like that, line up the threads on the inside. Don't forget that Loctite. All right guys, so I'm really excited to have this intake installed. I think it really cleans up and shows off that Screaming Eagle 110. So you guys are probably wondering, do I plan on tuning my bike? Well, I have the Vance & Hines Fuel Pack 3 already installed on my bike. So next time I go out and ride, I'm gonna tune it. You shouldn't put an air cleaner on and an exhaust on without tuning your bike, because you're just gonna mess up the air to fuel ratio. So make sure if you're gonna do an air cleaner and you're gonna do an exhaust that you get some type of tune to your bike, whether it's one of the ones you put on yourself or go to Harley Davidson and get your bike tuned.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up for the S&S Stealth intake. Lego's really excited to go ride it on his bike. I'm excited to see how it performs out on the street. But that's gonna do it for us at Dyna Demos. I'm Rod.
I'm Lego, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you think about that intake. Thank you.